Like I got.
I remember we talked about it because look,
I
Cross
ain't
sitting
even.
there acting acting like he ain't got 30, he don't wear jeans, like he don't wear
Listen,
size 13. So look, when you if you
we
when and
we
if
are
you double
live
move,
on the Boy Man King
just,
podcast. You
just
guys
make
are
sure you
getting
let me know this
great
week gets his hands on
opening content from the Jordan fans that we have that stay super locked in with us, man. Shout out to my boy Chizzy. You know, trying to ask me, Derek, do I man, Crump probably know this Negro always sends Amazon boxes 2 weeks out before he comes
Yes.
to my house. Why is he acting like I don't know that he is? You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, please stop. Please stop, bro.
Yeah,
You know
boy.
what I'm saying? We can always tell you live alone now. You know what I'm saying? Like we can tell the guys who live married with children, and we can tell the guys who live in an apartment.
And
Guys
look,
who live in an apartment are buying Jordans. Guys who live with wife and kids are buying groceries. It's just two
mhm.
different things that we buy. You know what I'm
His act,
saying?
his act, his acting stush like he ain't gonna try to steal a couple of them boxes when they come to the house. You know,
No,
I get
I
it.
didn't say that. I have to steal. I got, you know what I'm saying? So I'm taking, you know what I'm saying, God's blessings bestowed upon me. You know
No
what I'm
doubt,
saying?
no doubt,
Hey,
no
look,
doubt.
I
Man,
don't know
well,
if you got
welcome to the
to
Boy
get to
Man
his
King
house
pod.
though.
Yeah, welcome to the Boy Man King pod, man. We got
Yeah, man,
my,
welcome. Appreciate you.
my main man, Chizzy. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm good, man. I'm thankful. I'm here in Florida in Coral Springs. But not to put my location out there for this, but I'm on a slight little vacation right now. But I'm in the United States, so I'm happy. I'm here chilling with my boy in Florida, man. So I'm looking forward to some camaraderie, heading down to the A in a little bit, so we could do some more things with my main man Crump for Boy Man King. So I'm glad we
Yeah.
got D Boy in the building. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Shout out to our
Right.
desk, the one, the only, you know what I mean, the gospel gangster himself. Y'all show some love for Derrick Abbott, man. What's up,
Yeah.
man?
Look, the waves are looking
Hey,
clean
What
today.
Florida?
Okay, okay. Took
hey,
the do rag,
you know,
but the
you're a
waves are
gospel
clean
gangster
today.
when you like in the closet, you know what I mean, recording a podcast. You know what I'm saying? You like, listen, he would celebrate God anywhere, bro. He's like, look, we could be in the closet, we could be. He was in the garage before this. I said, I can't hit live in the garage. Ain't no light. You know what I'm saying? So,
Look, look, sometimes you got to go in the darkness and fight them in that too. You feel me? Sometimes you got to go in
Amen.
where they at.
And
For
that's really fight stars in the darkness, though. Facts. You know what I mean? That's really,
it.
really smart.
It
You know,
do.
for sure.
and let's talk about that. I think we'll start with you, Derek, man. You know what I love about our relationship. It started on the basis of you investing in yourself and making a decision to follow Christ. You
Mm.
know, so I want you to talk about that, and I also want to talk about that from the perspective of how me and Chizzy's relationship made a shift when he made a decision to invest in himself and double down and rededicate his life to Christ.
So,
Let's start there, man. I think it's appropriate, bro. We're gonna start at Derek, man. Talk about the starting point of all of this beginning, man. Like, kind of get the people into your world.
Yeah, man. So May 1st, 2022, I
Mm,
mm.
got baptized and I gave my life to Christ, man. And I'm gonna tell you, for me, the Holy Spirit hit me, and it was no saying no.
mm,
It's no saying no. Like when God says, "Come on," you
mm,
just pick up and go. You don't pull a Lot's wife and look back. You just go, right?
Yeah.
mm,
And I didn't know what God had in store for me at the time. I didn't know that I was gonna end up joining the church and getting used there with all of my talents. I didn't know me and
mm,
Crump were gonna become brothers. I didn't know there was gonna be a
mm,
whole community that was gonna rush behind me. Like I didn't know none of this. All I knew
mm.
was God said get up, and I got
Come
up.
on.
And look, that my life changed. The way I think changed. The
Mm.
things I speak changed. The things I allow my ears to receive changed. The people I have around me changed.
Come on. Talk about
Everything
all of
changed.
it.
Yeah, God will
Yeah.
strip. He'll strip you down. Like he will strip you, and you like. But it's cold. Next thing you know, you got everything else coming in bolos. Kind of like how Chizzy packages come to your house. You get like that all the time.
Come on, man. Lift up your hands. All ye gates.
Look, look, look,
Lift
look.
up your hands.
He likes it smooth. He
Come
likes all the
on.
type. He likes all that. He likes all
Gotta make a way out of no way. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what I love,
You
man.
know what though? It ain't even a way out of no way. God is the way. Once you go to Him,
that.
that's the way. You ain't got to
Yeah,
know.
thanks.
You ain't got to know. It's like if I'm gonna give you the perfect way to think about that. When you give your life to Christ, you ever been to the airport and you got those walk-in like escalators, but it walks you forward.
Yeah.
What you do, you going forward.
Mm.
You're giving your life to Christ is like.
Yeah.
You don't got to know when it stopped. You don't know when it's going to end. You just know you're moving forward.
Yeah.
It's getting you where you need to go.
And I want to add a little bit to that too, man, because although it's an amazing step, and you can see the direct benefits to making a choice. I don't want people to think that it comes without you not having some struggles, probably even more struggles, from those days when you make a decision. Because it's almost like once the enemy realizes you're making a stance and you're making a stand, like the attacks get even greater. And so, and we talk about this all the time, Crump, how is important to have that network. And you talked about it, Derek, how, your social circle changes, the choices you make change, your mindset changes. But I think the key piece is you have to really, really allow yourself that growth, because you're not going to have it all in the beginning. When you start, I look at it from an infancy perspective, right? When you're a baby, when you're, we all have kids. When you're nurturing a child, it takes a long time for them to really, really get on their own 2 feet. So you have to continuously, as a parent, really, really nurture what they do, feed them correctly, give them the sustenance that they need, so that when they get and start walking and get on their own, they can really, 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 hold true to the choices that they make. And I see, this choice of Christianity, this choice of shifting your mindset and your walk in that particular way. And I'm gonna tell you, it's not easy.
Come on.
It's not an easy walk to take, because there are as everyone knows, there are so many things that can come and distract you. And the devil knows that, all right, this is one I've lost, and this is one that heaven's gained. So I'm gonna do my best, because it's still new to him. I can still push things in his atmosphere. I can still attract him with certain things, certain people, certain behaviors. I can still try to pull him back over to the quote unquote dark side, man. And it's vital. It's super, super important. I can't understate it, and these associations are vital, are critical to the nurturing of a newbie, of an infant just trying to make it, in this world. Because trust me, I struggle with myself. I still see myself to be somewhat of a newbie in the infancy stages, yearning to just be fed in the right ways. You know what I mean? So I just want to put that little caveat over there to your point, because I don't want to give people the impression that everything's resolved and everything becomes rosy and a better rosy as soon as you make that decision. You know what I mean?
You know what, man? It was funny because my first year after giving my life to Christ, I was like, oh, this is cool being a Christian. This is fun. This is nice. Man, that year ended, and it was like being put out of the Garden of Eden. That's what it felt. Because it's like, all right, man, how deep can I go, Crump? How deep can I go?
And listen, bro. Yeah, listen, this is what we want, what the people want, man. Tell them what you're going through. Yeah.
Okay, so it was like this. So right before my year ended, God gave me a vision. God, like I'm walking with God on like in the clouds, but I can't see his face, but I'm walking with God, right? And that year ended, he like stopped walking. He said, keep going though, but make sure you can see my face. Keep going, but make sure you can see my face. And I remember you was real big on Proverbs. The book of Proverbs, we first came, real big on that. And Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 always stuck with me. Do not lean upon your own understanding.
In all our ways.
In all our ways. Do not lean upon your own understanding. And it was like, you had that first year is good, you get out, and now God's like, okay, now that I'm not holding your hand through every single thing, where's your heart really at? Who is it really facing? Right? Is it facing me, or is it facing what I was giving you? Have you been seeking my hand? You've been seeking my face. You know what I'm saying? And that first year was rough. And I tell anybody to get a life to Christ, get as strong as you can, as fast as you can.
Yeah.
Because when the attacks come, you don't want to try to get strong while you in it. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be playing in the game and they got to lift weights at the same time. You don't want to do that. And that for me, that was big.
Yeah, I want to speak to, like, when I was listening to both of you, I'm glad you said garden, because we give a practical example of what this like is like a seed finding good soil, right? So you was nice and comfortable being a seed your whole life, but once you get in soil, first the seed got to break. So everything that was before got to break from the inside out, right? You're busting out from the seams, but you're not going up. You're not manifesting first. You're establishing. And you're establishing the painful roots to sustain who you're going to long term become
Yes.
underneath all the
I like
ground,
that. I like
inside the
that.
soil. So it's
Yes.
like, so people like, man, I thought you went to Christ. I thought things go. It's a whole bunch of work happening you don't see. I'm getting more emotionally stable. I'm getting more spiritually stable. I'm getting more psychologically stable because I'm getting myself stayed on Christ, right? And so the reason why I tap in with you guys and I may say a prayer, give you a resource like the prayer line, because I understand, okay, like Chitty said, I'm a newbie in this.
Mhm.
You're, man, when I tell you as a man of God, whose my job is to mentor other men, when I tell you I got steak and potatoes for you, I got the best of the best and all of this glory, man. If you try to eat that right now, man, it'll choke you.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? So like, let me protect you. Let me put some arms around. Let me let you get some information, some new narratives, some new resources. And so what I love about y'all, and I think this is what we got to help men with. First, you made a decision. Then you made the investment, but then you took the initiative to stay connected. Not to say this, but initiated men. Both of
Mhm.
you,
Yeah.
Chizzy knew me as a boy on the basketball court, but he was like bump talking about basketball.
Mhm.
We got to talk about how to be a better man, bro. And what you got, Crump? Like whatever you got, I'm here for that, right?
Give it.
Because he knew me for 18 years. Derrick, you was like, hey, I thank you for praying over me, helping me accept Christ, Crump. Where you at? I'm in your city. I'm pulling up. You know what I mean? Like, so talk about somebody you just decided to say, these are the type of relationships I'm going to forge. I'm not going to wait on somebody. You made an initial like, now we're going to forge a different type of bond because I'm so committed to this. Talk
Yeah.
about a man coming out of space of, I'm going to forge these relationships with certain type of men.
I think that takes a very, very high level of intentionality
Yeah.
because you're going to always have somebody around. The devil will put somebody around that makes you feel good, right?
Mhm.
You have somebody around you like that. But it's hard to go to Crump and be like, hey, Crump, I've been messing up. What you got to say to me? And him not to say, oh, man, it's all right. No, fool, you messing up. And
Yeah.
look, Crump is one of the best men I know, but do not come to Crump with no foolishness. You will
Yeah.
know that you are some foolishness. Don't do it. Don't you do it.
He's speaking truth. He's speaking truth.
But I think the best part about that is all out of love. You've never told me anything that I didn't need to hear or out of your feelings or just out of condemnation. It was all, hey, I love you enough to tell you this so you can change.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right. And
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. I'll let you finish.
I think it's important for people like Crump, those men who have those intentional relationships, right? They
Mm.
do it simply because they know what you got inside. And they don't want you to mess it up.
Yeah.
They care more about you than you might care about you sometimes.
And I think that's a great point that you're making, right? And I'm going to say this, right? It's the difference between a spiritual man and a fleshly man
Yeah.
in terms of, because if a fleshly man wouldn't, the ego would drive a lot of the reasons why he wouldn't come to somebody who could give him spiritual guidance and give him some support and hold him accountable. The carnal man, the fleshly man wouldn't even humble themselves to even be in a space. And I think
Mm.
once you make a decision to start a journey, as we talk about journey into kingship, once you start a journey, that humility, boy, that you gain more importantly of all of this, that humility to be able to say, look, man,
Mm.
I'm trying to just do away with that ego, that pride, that fleshly guy that will stop me from getting to my kingship because my stupidity, my ignorance, my
Mm.
foolishness, all of that dumbness that I was before
Mm.
gets
Yep.
in the way of you even advancing in a spiritual space. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I think that's the big thing I gain from it as well. It's like before I'd be like, and remember, this is not age defined. It's not defined by how old you are, what plaques you have on the wall. Your spiritual walk is defined by the amount of reps that you put in and how long you put those reps in. Because like I'm older than both of you guys. Crump's younger than me by probably close to maybe 8 years. I'm not trying to get my age out there, but in terms of spirituality, like I said, it's not about this. It's not about, all right, well, I'm too old. I can't take the wisdom from a young cat who hasn't, I'm supposed to have this put together. And there's viewers out there, there's listeners out there that say, well, I'm kind of old in this, man. How am I going to shed that old silly and I'm gonna say silly, stupid, ignorant, fleshly mentality?
But let me stop you there, Chizzy.
Yeah.
Because when I experienced you before I approached you about what we discussed about you on this journey, my experience in our relationship, Derrick, and you can relate to this. You was too smart for your own good, as the old folks would say.
That's the first thing I heard on the prayer line.
Yeah,
hey, bro, come on.
So
you can't
it was
intellectualize this thing.
Chizzy got all the degrees, and so we eating pizza, watching the game, Derrick, and he talking about his life and his wife, and I'm like, okay, I can't really say nothing because you're gonna philosophically justify no matter what comes up to play the role that you're playing. And a lot of times we can be too smart for our own good. I want to give you guys a quote, and I want you guys both to expound on it. Now this is a new Coach Crump exclusive.
Okay.
But this is something I live by. I'd rather suffer in principle than be satisfied in poison. I'm gonna say that one more time. I'm gonna say that one more time for y'all. I'd rather suffer in principle than be satisfied in poison. What do y'all hear when y'all hear that, man?
I mean, you want to go first, or I've been talking all this time.
I'll get them first. Go ahead.
Again, that summarizes the conversation that we're having. Because when you stand on principle, you know that at the end of the day, that right, that choice, that straight line, that narrow path is going to come with hits and breaks. But the end reward is kingship. The end reward is your relationship with Christ. The end reward is you being in a better position to support your family, your friends, and be a resource to someone else. So I'm gonna suffer in that. So for me, I'm gonna make that decision as opposed to living in the short-sightedness of where I was. Because I think that's the road less traveled. It's the road less traveled to be able to say, all right, I'm going to really suffer in silence, because it's easy to just let me and my intellect and my efforts and my charisma and my gravitas get me to a place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what I take from it. That's what I take. I'm going to vibe tonight. This is a good conversation.
Yeah, go ahead, Derrick.
So for me, it's you represented a choice.
Yeah.
Either get to build my foundation, or I get to die in my flesh, the satisfaction of my flesh.
Simple as that, bro.
Either I'm going to build up or I'm going to die down. Pick one, right? And so I think the major part of what you said is the suffering. But what are you suffering for? What are you suffering for? Because you're going to suffer regardless. See, that poison is going to kill you. It might kill you slow, it might kill you fast, but it's going to kill you. Right? Suffering does not denote death. Suffering denotes sacrifice. Suffering denotes long suffering. Right? Suffering denotes I'm going to give up something. I'm going to suffer through something, but I got to get back something that's better. So do you want it now? Do you want it later? Because you can have it now. You can get whatever you want. You want to feel good now? Feel good now. You won't feel good in 5 years. Might suffer for these first 10 years. Oh, but them 30 after it gonna be cold though. But do you want it now? Do you want it later?
Yeah, bro.
You embrace the suffering too. You embrace the suffering. You embrace the suffering.
Long suffering is a fruit of the spirit.
Facts. Yeah.
And poison is a fruit of the devil. Right. So it's like long suffering is another word to explain patience. I remember, but this is how crazy, this is why you gotta spend time with God. I remember one time I was telling my wife in my dodo ministry when I was a petty priest, when I was young and dumb, when I was on dodo, telling my wife, man, like, why I got married. I'm like, yo, why you don't respect me more? You respect your dad and your brother. She was like, they've been in my life more than you have. Like, they've been there for me. So literally, she was about 26 at the time. So I was like, well, I met you at 20. So they put 20 years in, I put 6. So I was like, Derrick, after 20 years, she gonna have more. It's gonna be the breaking point because
Right.
I put in 20 years as the number
Or
one
so
man
you
in her
thought.
life. I put in 20 years number one man in her life, and they put in 20 years as number one, right? So I get to 40, right, this year, right? It's not even a topic. Me and Pops just had a great time Friday night without her. She showed up late to drop off some stuff, right? Whereas when we talk about even getting trust from your woman, from your wife, bro, it may take you 15 years, bro. You have to really prove that you ain't going nowhere. You
Yep.
have to really prove that hell or high water, I'm here. My wife hugged me during COVID. It's like, you really love me. Like, to go through what you go through, to been through what you've been through, and you sit right here in this house, like, and still love me. She was like, she told me the top of 2021, like, you love me. Like, I may misinterpret your intent. I may misinterpret your feelings. I may feel like you don't respond the way I respond. But now what I know, now what I can never say is that that man don't love me. I know for a fact he loved me. And I wanted to hear that I wanted to get engaged, right? After I got on the knee, Derrick, I wanted to have the wedding, and then I wanted to hear that every single day in the bed after the wedding. But
Uh-huh.
we're, but we're marrying a human being. And it don't discredit the fact that you got to really show people and live with people and go through stuff with people and be there for people when things don't go your way. You're
Right.
not getting what she knows. I'm not getting what I want, and I'm not going nowhere. That says you love me, like my daddy loved me, like my brother loved me, like you know what I mean. Like they don't judge me, condemn me. Like I'm always going to be their sister. I'm always going to be their daughter. You always going to be my wife, and we have to show as men. And that's why we had a conversation like, bro, like I told her, I said, babe, you're a crumpler now. So it's only one way this is ending.
Right.
I'm dying or you dying. And God
Yeah.
gonna say, like you said, Derrick, oh, that what you telling people? That's what you come out public? I'm gonna test every
Mhm.
element of that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna test every single element of that. And I
Yeah.
think when we say now, it don't sound so, man, suffering, I'd rather suffer in principle than to be satisfied in poison. When we talk about the big picture, the long game, you have such a blessing for suffering. You have such a reward for not abandoning your post. Chizzy said that narrow path, right?
Yeah.
And I say this with this. Why do men? I ask you guys a question. I want both of you to answer because this what trips me out with men as adults. We fundamentally get this when it comes to lifting weights, right? Everybody goes to the gym. Only 1% are a bodybuilder or close to a bodybuilder, even if they're amateur. But of not everybody, but all the people who lift weights, only 1%
Mm-hmm.
is actually a bodybuilder or close to it. And everybody knows to have the body of a bodybuilder, there are certain sacrifices and suffering and pain you have to put your body through to,
Yes.
to achieve that type of result. When
Yeah.
it comes, but I was like, for whatever reason, Derrick Chizzy, help me out. Why does this discipline of them beating up their body every single day, being mindful of what goes in their mouth, being mindful of how they get their rest, being mindful of how they hydrate, how come those same principles don't translate to spiritual development and relationship development?
I can tell you right now, I'm gonna take this one first, Chiz. I got 2 words for you. Control and guarantee.
Yeah.
Okay. So me going to work out every day, I can control what I put in my body. I control what I do and don't do. I control that. That means I don't have to depend on nobody else for my success. I can control it. Because I have that control, I can guarantee what I'm gonna get out. I can even put it on a time frame if I want to, right? I can guarantee that. When we talk about marriage, relationships, and working in Christ, I can do everything right. She still might not show up the way I need her to right then.
Yeah.
I can't control that, right? And if I can't control it, I don't have a guarantee. Like she may get it this week, she may not get it for another 10 years. But I got to be faithful though. And
I'm
I
about to
think
say I kick back. I kick back because God got guarantees in his word if you honor
oh
him.
yeah, he
You know
definitely
what I'm
got guaranteed.
saying? And now we have social stats, the census stats for people who carry certain commitments over time, to your point, Derrick, a certain way, I tell people all the time, me telling my wife, it doesn't work. Like I can't tell her, oh, you should do it and you should do it. And I gotta live away. My wife is not, you cannot, you know what I mean? Like you cannot dodo my wife. Like she's like, nah, she literally would, she be challenging me when I be preaching. You better live that thing you saying.
She need receipt.
I'm gonna hold you accountable to living the thing you're saying. And I thank God for her for that, because here I am frustrated that she's holding me accountable to my own word about me speaking the word, only for me to grow into that space. It took me a while. I'm not gonna hold you. She had to wait. But growing into that, my wife is doing some dynamic ministry and coaching now. And I'm so proud of it. But I had to be living it for years for her to be like, okay, he ain't doing that just to get some coochie. He's doing that because it's a calling. And so, yeah, Chizzy, go ahead. Why does it translate to guys to stay committed, stay locked, 10 toes down?
So let me say, faith underpins everything that we're trying to achieve. So for your analogy as it relates to working out in the gym, people have a hard time conceiving and conceptualizing perceived intangible results. So in a gym, you know you're going to get some tangible result. You stay consistent, you're going to see muscle growth, you're going to see weight loss. And so for people, psychologically, that motivates them to continue to go. In your faith, some of this stuff almost immediately, for most people, they don't see the tangible result to being consistent with their faith. Hence, why am I going to do it? Because although it feels nice and it sounds nice, I can't see the direct benefit to why I should continue on this journey. This whole concept of faith is almost counterintuitive, you know, in a lot of ways, if you really, really think about it from a carnal perspective, because you can't directly feel, let me be careful how I say this, you can't directly feel the presence of the faith, or the physical manifestation of that faith don't come almost instantaneous, depending on your level of thinking, depending on where you are. So for me, as a young person, and I say young in terms of my spiritual youth, for me, and the parallel I'll draw is, if I'm young in my thinking, I can really conceptualize why I would continue to take this faith path, because I can't really see the benefit tomorrow. If you get what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Because that's what the motivation is. The motivation is people are cause and effect driven. So I do something, I expect a result. Faith walk, your spiritual walk, yes, you do something, you will get a result, but you have to continuously be rejuvenating your mind and reshaping your mind and conditioning your mind to know that it's more of a long-term benefit that also has short-term gains as well. But that's not for the faint of heart. That's not for just the average person, which is why it's important as a young person. When I say young, myself, Derrick, yourself, newly Christian, it's important to really continuously associate, be in close proximity to, have brothers who can really, really say, okay, this guy was where I was at one point. He can tell me categorically that I was you. So that gives you that hope. It gives you that energy. It gives you that zeal that's necessary to really continue to have you stay in the pocket and get your reps in, get your spiritual reps in. You know what I'm saying? So that's my long drawn out answer to why.
Nah, but that's you actually answered it. You know what I mean? You kind of double down on Derrick in the sense of like there's no outward or immediate, you know what I mean, manifestation of it, or you can't control it, or you can't know for a fact in the tangible world, in the rational world. But I challenge you again, right? Because you said something I think that critical context in all of these conversations matter. You said me and Derrick, we just got into this thing a couple years. We're getting right with Christ and going through life with Christ, right? That's why it's so important for men. I've been dedicated to Christ since I was 16. So I'm almost 25 years of studying the word, preaching and teaching and breaking down the word and fellowshipping about the word, right? And what I've come to clearly see now at this season of my life is that we are a full shout out to As a Man Thinking by James Allen. Our circumstances is the fullness of our own thoughts.
Yeah.
So now, Derrick and Chizzy, when I'm not living in my vision of who I see myself as, if it's not in front of me, I know without a shadow of a doubt, I have inappropriate or ineffective or inefficient thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to go do that work on me to say, why am I having these thoughts? I'm going to bring up this scenario and Chizzy know what I'm talking about. And Derrick, you can chime in on this too. Chizzy was, man, this happened and this is why it happened. I was like, we were just listening to him vent, Derrick. It's everybody else's fault, Derrick.
Chiz, I've been there with Crump too, bro. I already know how that went.
Yeah, so I'm just listening to him, and I'm like, man, I can't help him yet. So people are on the call asking him questions. Yeah, and then he's doing this, but you can't take the responsibility off of her. I said, listen,
Right.
I said the reason why all of this is being created, you have created a thought process that you have hardened in your belief system that's generated these feelings, that's created this behavior, that's created these circumstances over time. We have to go back to, I'm a king and I'm building a kingdom, and this is my queen, and this is my village, and this is my people. And my job is to have a big picture energy and be grateful for what's around me energy and take on new territory, new horizons, put up protections all around my culture and my community. If I'm not regularly waking up on that energy and I'm more like, man, I ain't getting her. Man, she tripping. Man, I gotta go. Man, I gotta go to work. I got to. If I ain't say I get to, something is fundamentally with your thought process, you're off. And that is creating the situation that you have, the circumstances that you're living. But because you can physically see somebody saying something that's out of pocket, you could physically see somebody doing something out of pocket, you could point and say, you know what? That's why the circumstance exists. Not realizing it really exists. You have created all of this thought, and that's why you're living in it.
Yeah. I think that the narratives that we create breed into a certain level of condemnation that we point at everybody else. If I have the ability to condemn you, that means that you're automatically wrong and I have to be right by default. And that becomes extremely dangerous because at that point, that's when the self-development stops. That's when the self-growth stops. And you just stay right there where you at. And
that's the victim mentality. That's the victim mentality right there.
You know, so Chizzy, talk about that though, that battle that you went through it wasn't a one statement, one conversation to help you even break through to see yourself. Like it took a couple of conversations for you to even see that you was doing that. Like, so I want you to share because I think you are a great example of a man fighting to get his breakthrough psychologically. You know what I mean? So talk about that, Chizzy.
The way you said it, I was like, oh my goodness, like where am I psychologically? But I get your point. I mean, again, like we talked about in the beginning of the podcast, sometimes you get in your way. So when you intellectualize something and you overanalyze something, you can always find a way to spin the narrative so that you're justified in everything. Like you said, psychologically, when you play this out in your brain, in your head, all the behaviors that you receive from other people is a reflection of you versus a reflection of, versus taking a different way of thinking. And it requires a lot of humble pie. People know what that means. It requires a lot of self-reflection. It requires a lot of isolation and spending time with God just to figure out, how you can make a shift in you, because the primary focus is you and your mindset and how you show up in a space so that when people receive you, they're receiving the true you, not that overcompensating bravado you that I'm a man, so you should respect me, you, just because the world wants me to believe that because I'm 6'3", 250 pounds, and I'm a black man that's somewhat educated, you should receive me in a particular way. That entitlement, you have to strip yourself of. You know, me, I have to strip myself of. And it's a daily thing. I will be real with you. It's a daily thing. It's a daily struggle because when you're 40 plus years old, your thoughts and your actions, those are identifiably who I am as an individual. When you're endeavoring to reshape yourself from the inside, that kind of keeps a lot of those things kind of at bay, and you realize that, you know, I don't need all those physical attributes. Really don't really matter in terms of how people receive me. You know, my spirit, my demeanor, you know, what God asks of me to do is really what comes out in how people receive me, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? But it's not an easy thing to deal with. It's not an easy process because, you know, those people over there who are still in your life in so many different ways, who before you had this quote unquote awakening, they're still operating in the same space. So you could very easily go back to how you reacted to them before, because they're still not, they probably even don't even recognize the change. But I know that in my consistency and in my endeavoring to just operate in this way, whether they get it or not really doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, I'm accountable to God first. And eventually, as we talked about earlier, you'll see the fruits of that labor, quote unquote, in a tangible way, because people could only receive you in a way until they realize, hey, something's different about how this guy is showing up. Something's different about how he's reacting.
Yeah, let's pivot there. Let's pivot there. I'm gonna go to you, Derrick. But before I ask you guys about how the different people in your household are receiving you once you make this commitment compared to before, Derrick, you was a modern day. You know what I'm saying? He had that modern day swag pimp. You know what I'm saying? He had the box hat slant to the side. You know what I'm saying? He had a chapstick going every hour of the day. You know what I'm saying? He had taco meat out. You know what I mean? Top buttons loose. Like he was making sure that he was fly every time he was on the gram. My man found Christ, took off the hat, put on a bigger glasses, and he was like, "Look, I'm a gospel gangster." So talk about, like, as you transition the thought process you had prior to, you know what I mean, swagged out modern day pimp, you know, big things popping, to now you're like, man, I'm just out here trying to be an ambassador for the Lord. Like, talk about, because you was on the ground looking one way prior to the conference. You know what I mean?
I think we got that. I think we got that far, bro. I think we got that.
You know, I let Crump have his fun, bro, because, you know, when you get a certain age, he ain't gonna be remembering these jokes for too much longer. So you know.
Tomorrow he'll be done.
But nah, so I had to come to a couple of realizations about me. Right, that was the first thing. I had to really be honest with myself. We were talking about drawers and shoes earlier. I literally used to put my value and worth on what was on my body, how people saw me. I wanted to sell myself as valuable instead of actually being valuable.
Come on.
And that was a rough transition, right? Because it's hard to wake up in the morning and then realize that everything you're doing is for somebody who don't care nothing about you.
Right. Yeah.
Right. My wife loves me more now than I was being fly everywhere we went. She loved me in my sweatpants and my t-shirts. Right. Where I was out leaving the house trying to put on a 5-piece suit so that way I could look like I was something in front of people who had no value to me at all whatsoever. Not to my faith, not to my Christianity, not to my family, not to my pockets, no, nothing. Right. And you have to be able to release the fact that you ain't got it. You ain't got it. I gotta go. Who got it? God got it. Okay, well, what is it gonna take for me to get there? Okay, well, you gotta stop trying to put on for other people. You gotta stop being an employee for the devil.
Come on.
Right? Like, I tell anybody, man, the devil does not bother his best employees. He don't. He ain't bothering them. They know what he's going to do. None. But when you gotta start looking at your deficiencies, you gotta stop doing the things you was doing. You gotta start actually being who you say you want to be. There's a breaking and a crushing that comes into place.
Come on.
You have to, and you begin to shed off stuff that you didn't even know you was carrying. I didn't know I was carrying resentment to my wife, towards my wife like that until I wasn't carrying it no more. I was like, dang, I was that. Oh, wow. Okay, so then you begin to run away from the version of person that you were, not because you want something so much better, but because you're so afraid of being so in such a deficit that you'll never go back. You'll never go back.
Yeah.
So I wanna say something real quick, if I may, for all the single brothers out there, because I can remember you talked about resentment just now, right? There are people out there, myself included, who co-parent, and there's the resentment person, the resentment boy. It's harder. I would like to say it's harder to shed when you don't make a decision. When you make a decision to walk away from somebody, because it's easy to demonize somebody that you really don't want to be in a relationship, that you could keep them over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and I want to say this to brothers who are listening, to people who may watch it, that say, well, man, like, why should I even care if she respects me? Why should I even care if, as long as I'm showing, as long as I'm being a parent, as long as I'm paying my money, like, why should I even care? Like, she's over there, I'm over her. And I can tell you from a single man's perspective, like, the relationship is very different now from how it was before.
Come
And
on.
I'm talking, I was with my ex-wife. My son's 21 years old. So I've been rocking for that long. You know what I mean? And it's early, and I don't want to say that it's always been bad. Of course not. We were in a relationship at one point, it was good. But the growth that I've seen in me in the last couple of years, in terms of how I perceive my role with my children and with her, is very different from even when I was trying to be with her. When I was in a relationship with her, you know what I'm saying? I almost feel like my level of intentionality has shifted, even with how I support what she's got going on, even outside of the fact, even though as a single man who's really just trying to have the best situation, because it's less, and maybe some people may be saying, well, I mean, you really don't care to develop the relationship, but yes, because remember I said before, some people still show up the way they are. Who they are is who they are. It's my capacity for change. It's my capacity to really see, all right, this is how I want to be received, whether you receive me or not. This is how I'm showing up. And by virtue of the fact that I know that I've done the work, I'm received different. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it's great, but there's a level of expectation that I don't have in terms of the validation, in terms of
Come on.
all of that stuff. I don't need that any longer. So I can freely show up. I can freely give my time, give my efforts, give my energy, give my money, give whatever I need to give, because I know at the end of the day, it's not really about me. This is what God calls me to do, because that's what God calls me to do. Whether she's attached to me physically, whether she's my wife, at the end of the day, we will always be family. We will always have that level of attachment, but it behooves me to just make this situation as good as I can. But it only started with me. She ain't done nothing different.
No, I'm glad you said that too, man. It's something you didn't say, but I know it changed.
Sure.
Your heart changed.
Facts.
Your heart changed. When your heart changes, what you give attention to, what you're intentional about, what you focus on will all change. So all the stuff that you just said that you changed over, your heart condition changed first.
Facts.
The root of you changed first.
Come on.
It ain't gonna be no without a heart change condition. You can't, because you love what you love. You hold on to what you want to hold on to. You can fake it all you want to, but when you go home in the middle of the night, your first go to, whatever's in your heart is what's gonna show up.
Yep.
And you can't grow past whatever your heart loves.
And so for the single brothers out there, man, I know it's hard. I know what I may be saying may be idealistic in the grand scheme of it, but you really, really, really have to ask yourself, what outcome am I looking for? Peace, harmony, respect, mutual love and respect. That all starts from me. That all starts from me.
Because Chizzy, we got to be practical. Like I tell people all the time, like, I don't really be emotional about any of these decisions.
Yeah.
I don't be passionate. I'm not emotional about. I'm saying to myself, Chris, when you go to Jada's high school graduation, now this is me. This is all Crump. This ain't got nothing to do with nobody else.
Right.
My wife get on my last born again tap dancing, cotton picking nerve. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm married, but I'm saying to myself, do I want to go back and forth and wasu or get over or sleep it off or take a break or just endure? Or do I want to show up to my daughter's graduation next year, me and some other lady saying, hey, baby, congratulations. And her mom and some other man. No, I don't have the mental bandwidth for that. I don't. So I was like, I'm not going to the graduation. I'm not going to the weddings. I'm saying me and your mama with our fussing and cussing and showing up together. You know what I mean? Because that's what ultimately I want to show them that. Like I had to think about, okay, these things are going to happen 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. I'm gonna make a decision based on that. I'm
Yeah.
gonna make a decision and I'm gonna acquiesce and become now, like you said, there because I got the goal of all of us going together, of all of us being together. I gotta become something I wasn't before, Chizzy. I gotta
Bruh.
listen like I never listened before, Chizzy. I gotta research stuff. I gotta read a book. I gotta join a men's group. I have to now go into spaces. I have to do whatever it has to be done for it to work because the current version of me is not working. Is not working. And I want to say something to you because I think this is the fundamental challenge for all you guys are strong, masculine, mature men. One thing we have in common, especially being in condition in America, North America, Bermuda, we want to win. We hate losing, right?
Mhm.
I don't take no L's.
But I'm gonna read a scripture though, because Chizzy said something powerful at the top of this podcast. He said, faith is an exact opposite of our wiring.
Yep.
That's why it's not your natural instinct. It's like
Mhm.
it challenges you first. It
Mhm.
convicts you first. Matthew 10:39 is the scripture I have for tonight. I've been letting the Holy Spirit talk, but that's the scripture I have for tonight. Whoever finds his life will lose it. And whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. So I have to ask myself or everybody involved for the people I love, I'm willing to lose my life. I'm willing to lose this argument, lose this status, lose whatever. You talk about changing your clothes now. Your wife loves you more now than she ever did before, Derrick. Like I'm so competitive, bro. I am dysfunctionally competitive. I am just competitive to where it's not healthy. I'm a sore loser competitive. So I have to do reverse psychology to say, Crump, it's okay in this situation to take a L so that the team can move forward, bro. Because if you keep fighting this, because I fight to the end, and I've learned to just, you can give up some battle so that you can win the war.
Right.
You
You
know what
want
I
to be
mean?
right? You want to go home? You want to go? You want to go? What they say? You want to go home? You want to go to
You,
jail? Like what you gotta
so
do?
the question I always tell men before I give them advice, do you want to be right or do you want to be righteous?
Yeah.
So you can always logically explain a way that you are justifiably right, bro. You right. Legally, you're right. Morally, you're right. Ethically, you're right. Like socially, you're right. Relationally, you're right. But spiritually, you're not wise.
Right.
So that's what throws guys off so passionate because they're like, I'm justified in saying what I'm saying. I'm justified in doing what I'm doing. But it won't get you the outcome that you ultimately want. Like
It
at the
won't.
end of the day, you know what I want more than winning a battle? I want to win the war. You know what I want more than this moment? I want a ministry. You know more than I want than this little situation? I want solitude. You know, so it's like I have to make a decision that's going to get me the results, not the reaction. I need the results at the end of the day. So if that says in the moment that my response has to be one of a lower demeanor, of you know what, not speak, because I have so many times my children, my job, that's easy money to be honest at this stage because I had so much stability raising them since I cut their umbilical cord. I'm always missing the interpretation of my wife.
Right.
Always, still to this day, 22 years with her, I still missed the You know, if I would have responded and reacted to what I thought she was doing, what I thought she was thinking, what I thought, it was so much information and feelings and processes that I missed at that moment. I was like, oh, thank God I didn't say something. Thank God I didn't do it. It would have literally made the situation worse, even though I was justified to say and do what I was about to say and do.
Mm-hmm.
So I say that to share as men who love competition, who hate losing. But the word says, whoever finds their life will lose it. And whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I believe that as a man, as a leader, you're always got to be playing for that long game. And I think that's the amazing thing about the male-female dynamic, husband and wife dynamic, and why God instituted marriage the way he did is because there are benefits to both sides of the coin, which is why when we come together in harmony, under God's harmony, it could be a really, really amazing thing. And for the single brothers out there, seeing how that works under the guise of God is an amazing thing to see. My parents have been married 50. My brother's 51, 52. My parents have been married that long. And I'm not saying it's perfect, but seeing my dad operate in a godly space, like when you have examples like that, for me, you only can aspire to have that. But I know for me, where I went wrong was I was trying to maneuver. I was trying to fix that as opposed to making God the center of it and having him fix me first to ultimately fix that. You know what I mean? So, and of course, would I have gotten divorced 4 or 5 years ago? I can't say I would have. I know everything works together, as the way it should. But at the same time, for the brothers out there, you don't have to, you could take other people's examples and say, hey, man, I'm considering this divorce thing. I'm considering this separation thing. It's just driving me crazy because it's easier to walk away. Let me tell you, the work comes in really, really, really just, putting your head back, keeping your head down and really, really, really just pushing through and really trying to, figure it out with you and your wife. I would encourage any brother, look, man, if you're considering divorce or separation, because you don't want to have to go through that and whatever pain that comes with. And let's say you're not grounded in Christ, have to turn around and have a reformation of your entire self just to get to a place where now I'm able to go to dinner with my children and my ex-wife, sit down, have a meal, and it's chill. It's cool. Yeah. Where the old me will be like, I am no way and ever. This girl's caused me so much pain in my life. I don't want to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? So my advice, if I had to give some advice, is really take a look at self and see how you can make an impact on yourself first, so that you don't have to go through hell, as they say, to get to heaven, so to speak. So
you know what, man, the word that keep popping up is perspective for me. Like, have a selfish perspective, right? Self-ish perspective. So I can turn a loss into a win just by looking at it from another perspective.
Yes.
Oh, like Crump, you talking about your wife. I'm like, dang, I really want to go up and tell my wife about herself. But you know what? I won because I kept my mouth closed. She don't even got to argue. She don't get the chance to argue with me now. Right? Even if you got to hype it, however you got to get to the perspective of winning, right? If you just competitive like that, cool. Find a different way to win. You might not be able to win by dunking the ball. You might have to get 40 assists. You might not score a point, right? Some people might consider it be a loss.
And I'm going to go deeper on that. Remember, y'all on the same team. I tell anybody who be struggling, like men, when I talk to men, we struggle with the scoreboard ministry. Man, I feel like, she's up and she's like abusing the situation. She's trying to press me already, winning by 40. already winning by 60. She's still shooting threes and throwing alley oops. I'm about to just start fouling people, not realizing y'all on the same team, bro.
Yeah.
That just because she's shooting the shots and she's getting all the press and she's getting all the, y'all all are going to win the championship. You're all going to get a ring. Like,
Yep.
I think a lot of times our perspective is like we're competing against each other and not reminding each other, hey, we're on the same team. You know what I mean? We're fighting this thing together. We are perceiving it as men that we're at odds. That you're my opponent. I gotta find a way to defeat you. It's like I don't have to find. I ain't even trying to put. I don't even put energy trying to defeat nothing about my wife. I'm trying to support her. Whatever she got going on, I'm trying to support her. And so I really would even double down that perspective. Man, you said something, Chizzy, that triggered me. I was at my son's game today. And, you know, it's interesting now, Derrick. People are really following the content. So I'm getting hit regularly now in the public. Hey, man, Coach Crump, love your content. I know you don't know me, man. Follow you. Love your podcast. Saw you on Harley Initiated, Boy, Man, King, Coach Crump, like whatever. So one of the guys is a parent on one of the teams CJ plays. Like, man, I was on ET, man. I saw you on the flyer, man. Like, just want to let you know, bro, I start following you, man. I'm inspired by you. Say, yeah, thank you, man. And I appreciate that, man. I'm glad I could add value to your life. And we're sitting there on the rail, overlooking the bleachers, looking at the kids play. He's like, yeah, because my family the kids don't really know, but we not together. Like, so basically saying, like, coming out of COVID, they're not legally divorced, but they're separated. And that's why you don't see us like how you used to see us. Because we've been in the same community for 4 or 5 years. And I was like, I just know, like, oh, yeah, you're not over there with your wife. I don't know if she's your wife now, but whatever, like, I could tell. And I saw her cheering. I saw him up here with me. But what I saw more than anything that no one saw as he's sharing it was the pain on his face.
Yeah.
So he had to say there and say all the right things, right, Chizzy? He had to say, like, you know, because look, I got to stay in that house because, you know, I don't want my kids to be affected by this. But his daughter's going through something. His son is going, like, they both are one in middle school. And Chizzy could speak to this. One in middle school, one in high school. Are emotional wrecks right now. Both of them. They've been stable all this time, Derrick. Been stable all this time, Chizzy. Right now, going through emotional wrecks. And then I was like, when he told me about his daughter, I was like, 2 months ago at practice, he's like, yeah. I was like, man, I didn't. That your daughter behaves like that? He's like, man, we don't even know. Now she's doing it to both parents. I'm like, what's your daughter in high school all of a sudden? Like, she's always happy-go-lucky. Like, that's even weird that she's even in those scenarios. Going to her son, not locked into the game today. They lose the championship by 1 point. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, Chizzy kind of talk to like guys like putting on. I think separate what you sharing to the singles, I think sharing to for that people that your ex-wife, dealing with being a father and working out with the mother of your children, like all of these other social, emotional, psychological that affects your decisions don't just affect you, right? The reason we're saying, are we putting in God and putting in word and what we're doing as men of God and to walk our spiritual life? But the other reason, and I could say as men who I respect, the men that's on this call right now, I'm not going to make irrational decisions, short-term decisions. I'm going to think big picture because I fully understand other people are going to be affected by the decisions I make. And yeah, so Chizzy, speak to that, man.
Look, I mean, you know, it's not really rocket science. You don't have to be a child psychologist or be in the mental health field to know how children internalize their immediate world and what's going on in their immediate world. And of course, academics, social awkwardness, antisocial behavior, you know, all of these things are byproducts of something going on internally that comes from, you know, some level of dysfunction at the house, at, you know, what's going on with the parents. I saw it in my daughter. I actually had to leave Bermuda at one point and come spend a whole month in Canada just to come and support my daughter because, you know, at that particular point, there was a lot of back and forth with mom, and it was fighting, and I don't even. It was just to your point. I don't want to make it long and drawn out, but
Come on.
my decision
Come on, man of God.
was like you said. You may be justified. You may feel like she's acting the fool. My decision as a man directly affected how my children, how my daughter, how my son was internalizing that breakup and that separation. Now, some people might be like, well, it's not solely on the guy because, she tends to do this and it takes two people. Nah. I once you, even if that's the case, once you shift your mind, and Dak, you talk about this, once you shift your mindset and say it is, it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility.
Yep.
You have to take that to the chin. And you have to recognize that if you can break it, you can also fix it. The question becomes, what are you willing to do to fix it? Because your happiness is secondary to the happiness of your children. That's the facts. And when I talk about material happiness, we're talking about how your children adapt to the environment, what coping skills that they have post-divorce, mid-marriage, pre-relationship. You as a parent have the responsibility. You are the direct byproduct. You are directly involved with how that plays out for your children. So until they become 21, 25, 26, 28, forget you and your happiness. Yes, I know that sounds crazy, but you have to make sure that you bang your head against the wall to ensure that your kids are well adjusted. Because we see how that plays out in everywhere.
And now I thought alley to Derrick because, bro, you're the father of the year when it comes to this, man. Because in our world, in our culture, like you're super dad, bro. But it takes a man's man to come into a situation to raise somebody else's kids as your own. Let's put all the cards. We're all adults here.
Put them out.
You are in a whole nother class of taking on somebody else. Look, I know we can say everybody got their phrases that they say about this situation, but at the end of the day, your wife had already had children, and you decided you my wife, so those are my children.
Kids.
And they already came with whatever they came with, whatever experiences they had, and you had to navigate both of those scenarios. Coming in as secondary, now you the leader. Now they had other experiences, they got other references, and you're combating that on a daily basis by living your consistent example. Talk about that from your perspective.
That takes a whole nother level of focus.
And
I'm willing to say that part in some ways is harder than being married. Because in marriage, there's an expectation that one person is going to contribute, the other person is going to contribute, we're going to do this together. When it comes to them kids, they don't have that level of responsibility, not even to themselves. So you got to really pour all the way into that. You got to shape and hone everything. Because either the baseline that they got is either non-existent or the one that they do have ain't good. Because if you leave it to themselves, you leave your kids home for a week. You think they're going to eat anything nutritious? It's going to be fruit roll-ups and Sprite for the whole week.
And number pizza boxes.
Yeah, that's going to hurt them, right? And so, I mean, being a dad, I had to make up the decision, like, do I love them enough to put aside and nurture this adult that's coming, nurture the adult that's coming? I had my shot. Hey, look, I gotta do my own work now. My job is to make the work that they got to do for themselves later easier. That's my whole role.
Yeah.
I think
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
What people don't understand about my ex-wife had a daughter when I met her. So what people don't understand about being a parent to a child that's not yours necessarily is there's no biological attachment that that child has to you. So, you know, when you got your kids, by virtue of the fact that they're yours and they have your blood, and there is a level of compliance, let me say, that comes with being a parent to them. So when it comes to discipline, when
Mhm.
it comes to rapport, you kind of have that established if you're involved in your child's life. But when it comes to parenting a child that's not yours, that you walk into a situation and you choose, as you've done, to, you know, to parent a young lady or young brother, that's a very, very ticklish situation. Rapport building is paramount. So you have to spend your days walking this line of, okay, well, I know how I would parent this child if she was mine, but I don't want to say, do, or act in a particular way that may sever their relationship. So you have to toggle
Yep.
between appeasing your wife or your partner, your girlfriend, whatever the situation with her in terms of how you parent. Because depending on the relationship you have with the child's mother, she may not want you to interact with him in any way, shape, or form, in a way, because she's got her daddy. You know what I'm saying? And the child may not even be receptive to anything you say because you're not their father. And I don't have to listen to you.
Mhm.
And my daddy, no matter how involved or less involved he is, he's still the bee's knees and his knight in shining armor that I probably never see, but I still revere him in that particular way. So you can't tell me nothing because, you know,
Yeah.
this is a very, and unless you've experienced it,
Mm.
you won't ever understand what it feels like. And I'm talking even in the best scenarios. My situation, we got along quite well. I think I present, and this is pre, you know, rededicating my life. I thought we got along well, but still, there were still some impasses that I just couldn't get through just because. You know what I mean? So it's very, very challenging to do that. And the brothers that do choose to do this, you know, it's a huge undertaking to do so, to understate it, because you grapple with, man, my life could be so much easier if I just walk away. And I don't have, because what we're talking about essentially is a decision that's based solely off a choice. There's no
Mm.
biological connection. There's no, these are my children. I may have been, even if I'm been, um, you know, displaced for a little bit and I've been away or whatever, and I'm coming back into their lives now. You're literally choosing to raise a young person that is not your young person.
Yep.
And Derrick, you could speak to this phenomenally, I'm sure.
Mhm.
Like there are days where you're like, man, I don't have to deal with this. I barely like your mama. You know what I'm
Look,
saying? You feel what I'm saying? So
look. Man, and you know the crazy part, man. It'd be like it's easy to love yourself.
yeah.
I love me. So like Crump, when you look at your kids, you looking at you. It's easy to love them. But when you got somebody that you looking at and it ain't a lick of you in them, and you
Mm-hmm.
still gotta find a way to love them, you gotta
Yeah.
still show up as though you are looking at yourself.
Facts.
Sir, sir.
They ain't never
That,
write that book. You can never read a book about how to co-parent a child. I mean, you'll never read a book about co-parenting, period. But that book will never be written.
yeah.
Never ever be written
Every
because,
child is gonna be different. Every
oh my goodness.
child is gonna be different. Every personality that you bring to the table is gonna be different, and you never know what concoction that all gonna put together,
I think
right?
the best scenarios would be if you're able to build a relationship with that child's father. So in Guy's case, if you have the
You
capacity
know,
to build a relationship with that child, this is just me trying to
yeah,
think of the best case scenario. Derrick, I don't know. You may be able to speak to this.
yeah. I'm gonna talk about a separate thing, but I want to hear what you're saying about that. Go ahead.
Just only from the perspective of if I see that my stepdaddy or my daddy get along, and this may give me some buy-in from a parenting perspective.
Yeah,
In my case, I never had that. It was in tension. Or maybe it was tension. Not physical stuff, but you know, you know what it's like. Like the guy may
yeah.
still have some
Mhm.
feelings about the new boyfriend, about the girl. So he may not be in a good headspace to really
Yeah.
receive who you are, even if you're the best of guys. You know what I mean? But all I can only assume that the best way to approach it would be to see if you can actually have a good rapport with the child's
Yeah.
father, if possible, so that the child that you're trying to parent would be receptive to the new rapport that you're trying to build, and understand that you have your dad, I respect your dad. I'm going to do my best to provide some level of guidance with someone, with the child's permission or buy-in to do so. That's my yeah.
So my situation was a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't get no help from the dads. We didn't get no support, none of that stuff.
Yeah.
And there was one thing, even in my brokenness and trying to figure it out, there was one thing I always did. Because they would, they got older as they got older, they voiced their opinions more. And I was like, they never were allowed to disrespect their father. If I heard it, we had a problem.
Sure.
Never. Because I never wanted them to, because here's the deal. If you look at your own blood like that, you look at anybody in the world like that.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they show up or don't show up, they right, wrong, or indifferent, you don't get to talk about them like that. No, don't say that about them. They might even be right.
I was gonna say justifiably so.
Yeah, but there's a level of respect that I'm going to command, because the level of respect that you'll give out is the same level of respect that you're going to have for yourself. Right. Same one. They don't separate, right? You can't say, oh, I respect this thing over here, but not this thing over here. You have a capacity for respect. And one of the best that I did, like even now, like my kids know if their dads don't show up, they know who to call.
Yeah.
I understand my role. My role is to make sure something happens that didn't already happen. So going backwards, playing oh man, he didn't do that. I don't want to hear all that. What you need?
Yeah, facts.
What do you need?
That's one of the best. That's the best option for you, man. For anybody, like, you gotta just be a resource. You gotta be a resource. And again, you have to ask yourself, what is my intentionality? What am I ultimately trying to gain, or what does this child need by my presence being in her? And that would afford you the ability to really, really separate your emotion and all the stuff that comes with it, and say, all right, I'm going to show up in a way that just this child can see and recognize and be able to mimic, because they're not going to be children forever. And at the end of the day, your goal as a parent, whether it's your own children or not, is to take those moments, make them teachable moments, and bang them over the head with teachable moments, so that when they get their own children and when they get old enough, they can reflect on, hey, I remember when my stepdad Derrick was really, really trying to say this. And even though my dad, who I really, really, really revere and love, may not have been showing up, okay, I could, because you can still get the lesson, whether it comes from the messenger. Sometimes really doesn't matter. Yeah. Of course, the idea would have it come from dad, come from the paternal parent. But as an adult, now you can distinguish and you can decipher, all right, when I was a kid, I wasn't receiving this, but now I'm an adult, I can see why my stepdad was saying, hey,
I'm gonna say this last thing for one of my experiences. So my youngest, my daughter, my baby, that told me to my face at 10 years old, I don't like you. And it's that for years. Years, that girl couldn't stand my guts. I mean, hated me, right? But I never, she never went without. She always, if I need something, call my dad. Couldn't get it, Pop, because they call me Pops. Pops got it. And now she's an adult, and she calls me and asks me for advice. When she needs something to take care of, she calls me. When we get off the phone, love you, baby girl. Love you too, Pop. Like the whole night. Like, so now our relationship is different because I remain consistent with her.
Consistency.
Yeah, baseline with love. If you operate out of love, regardless of what the scenario is, I don't care if it's child, relationship, whatever, right? If your go-to, your baseline, your foundation, what you fall back on when you are unconscious about it is love, it's going to go right back to where it needs to go. It will always get back to where it needs to go.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys so much for sharing. That's the time I'll be quiet, Chizzy. Certain topics, you and Derrick go back and forth, bro. Because I'm a coach, mentor who despise people giving advice of something they haven't experienced, because and I know people got their philosophies, but I'm not getting marriage advice for somebody who's not married. I'm not getting parenting advice for somebody who's not parent. I'm not getting shared family advice from people who don't have a shared family. Like, nah, like because like you said, you gotta, to all the things that go with experiencing it while you're processing all these moving parts that's out of your control. to look at something intellectually on a piece of paper and to try to give advice compared to living something, it is a completely different perspective.
Right.
Yeah. But what I do want to transition, man, Derrick, man, you are a phenomenal man of God, man, and we're thankful that you shared the platform with us, man, on the Boy Man King. What is like some leaving remarks you want to give the people, man? Like what you want to leave the people with tonight?
Worry about you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about none of the noise around you. Don't worry about everybody who is impacting what you think. Worry about you. The more you change, you'll notice more that your climate does too. And it's easier to change one than it is to change the many.
I love it, man. Worry about you. Chizzy, what you got for the people tonight, man?
You know, I just want to say that we're blessed to bless. And if you always function in a space of service, you're always putting the needs of other people in front of your own needs. It is also necessary, and let me just be clear, it's also necessary, to Derrick's point, is to take care of self first. But taking care of self also means being able to be, being open to be a resource to somebody else. Because there's a lot of gratitude that comes with just putting other people in front of your needs, because obviously that's what this journey is about. We're called to be that for other people. You know what I mean? So, if you get into a space where your focus is solely given to other people and you live in that and you function in that, it's an amazing, amazing journey that you can have and you will experience, and you can see the transformation that takes place with the people around you. Because no longer does it become about fulfilling your needs, but it comes down to fulfilling the needs of other people around. And that stuff's infectious. You'll see how people receive you differently. You'll see how it's reciprocated a lot more than it would in the past. Yeah.
Yeah. I just leave you guys with this. Again, a quote I said earlier, man, I'd rather suffer in principle than be satisfied in poison.
Yes, sir.
And, when you have these certain quotes and scriptures that you live by, it helps you make decisions.
Sure.
Right? I tell people all the time, a wise man overlooks an offense. So I'm going to be offended. The question is, am I going to be wise about it? I'm going to overlook it. You know what I mean? I'm giving people grace to grow like God has given me. And I think the more we have these quotes and these scriptures that we say, these are fundamental things I live by, so that it governs my body, it governs my members. Make sure you get some word in you. Make sure you get some wisdom in you, so that you can not just react, but you can think about the results and what's the best decision for me to get the ultimate result for me and my family. Man, thank you guys so much. Derrick, where can people find out more about you and what you got going on?
Ooh, man. Instagram is a good one. Mr. Abbott Official. That's gonna be the best place. Facebook, use my government name on my Facebook. Derrick Abbott. And Crump, you don't know, I'm gonna tell you, I guess I'm announcing it a little bit here, but I'm back in school, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
man.
I'm working on my degree in Christian psychology, so it's gonna be some things.
Oh, I love it. Congratulations.
We can definitely talk, man. That's my lane. That's what's up, man. That's not. Yes, I like
Chizzy,
that.
talk to the people, man. What can they find more about you and what all the things you got going on, man?
I'm Chizzy BDA. I be doing on the coach. You see the clips, every other day on the coach, 1 minute clips, just to keep men motivated. It actually keeps me motivated, for being honest. Shout out to Noel, man. It's amazing behind the scenes doing all the content for us,
Shout out to K-Dot, man.
Yeah, Diani, Kai. But yeah, I'm Chizzy BDA on Instagram, Facebook. I guess you can find me on my government man, Shay Paul. Just getting into this TikTok thing and posting on TikTok as well. I can't remember the TikTok handle is. You know how they give you like names and numbers. Yeah. I ain't there yet where I've got my total name. But yeah, man, I just look forward to Only Coach. Gonna be dropping some merch sometime soon, just to create a ethos, a vibe of Only Culture, what that means in terms of mental, spiritual development for man. So look out for that in the upcoming months. It's an amazing, amazing, amazing thing, man. So I appreciate you, man. Crump, man, where can they find you, man? Talk to us, man.
And listen, man, first like and subscribe to Boy Man King podcast on YouTube, man. Make sure you tap in with us, man. We're almost at 1,000 subs. Thank you for all of our followers and listeners, man, for the value and the support you've given us over the past 2 years. Also, man, like us on Boy Man King Talk on Instagram, man, for all of our updates. And shout out to the King Conference, man. April 20th is going down in Atlanta.
You
You want
gotta
to
be
be there,
there.
man.
King Kong.
The King Conference is back. Derrick's going to be pulling up. You want to make sure you see all of our previous guests. Man, it's going to be a movement. So you're going to see all the ads coming out soon about the King Conference, hosted by Boy Man King Podcast on
Yes,
April
sir.
20th, downtown Atlanta. One day of just fire, insight. It's all about understanding men
Sure.
and how they become who they need to become in kingship, but it's for women and men because
I was
women
gonna
need to
say,
be
yeah, living
educated
and me.
on the
Yeah.
men's needs and development that they need support with. So make sure, man, you bring all grown adults only. All grown man talk, all grown women talk. So adults only, man. But yeah, the King Coach, man. Shout out to just my team, my wife, the game plan, coaching program. And shout out to the team, man. K Noel, Kai the guy, Deanna, it is what it do. And just appreciate everybody, man. Thank you guys for spending time with us. We appreciate you. And until next time, the journey
It
continues.
continues.
Y'all be blessed, man.
All right. Y'all be blessed.